morning, grade 8 students. During this video, we are going to explain each one of these objectives. In the previous lesson, we learned about humoral specific immune response, which occurs according to the following mechanism. First, the T helper cell recognize the antigen of the pathogen and secrete chemicals that activate B cell. B cell in turn is responsible to secrete a specific kind of antibodies into the plasma, where these antibodies directed toward the specific antigens and bind to them, causing the neutralization of the pathogen. Remember please, neutralize pathogen means stop it from working but do not destroy it. An example of a humoral specific immune response is a blood transfusion. But what is blood transfusion? That's what we are going to discover it during this video. Blood transfusion is the transference of a blood from one person, meaning the donor, the one who is donating, giving the samples of blood, to the another person, which is the patient, the recipient, the one who needs these samples of blood. And that in order to compensate the loss of blood in the recipient after an accident or during a surgery. In fact, blood transfusion was very harmful at the beginning, where it caused in most cases for the death of the patient, until 19th century, where Karl Landsteiner discovered the human blood groups, and from that time the blood transfusion became safer. Karl Landsteiner found that mixing blood from two individuals can lead to the blood clumping, which can be fatal. Thus, sometimes the blood transfusion fails and leads to the death of the patient. But why do blood transfusion fail sometimes? In fact, the failure of a blood transfusion is related to the blood groups of the donor and recipient. Of course, you are asking now, what are the different types of blood group? What is the role in a blood transfusion? That's what we are going to discuss it together in the following part of the video. In order to identify the different types of a blood group and understand the characteristics of each one, we are going to use the example of donuts and sprinkles. Here, there are 4 pieces of donuts, each one expressed on its surface a specific type of a sprinkle. Here, for example, the first one represents a sprinkle letter A. Because of that, we are going to name this one Donuts A. Thus, we are giving the name of the donuts with respect to the letter of the sprinkle expressed on its surface. The second one expresses a sprinkle letter B. That's why we name it Donuts B. Third one represents the 2 sprinkles letter A and B. That's why we name it Donuts A, B. The last one, there is no sprinkles to exist on its surface because the number 0, it's very similar in shape to letter O. That's why we name this donuts O. In reality, these 4 different types of donuts represent the 4 different types of blood groups, which they are blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, and blood group O. In reality, the donuts represent the red blood cell, and the sprinkles represent the antigens that exist on the membrane of red blood cell. Example, this one, it representing this red blood cell type, and the sprinkle letter A represent the antigens A that expressed on the membrane of red blood cell. Please concentrate that according to the type of antigens expressed on the membrane of red blood cell, we are going to identify the blood group. Thus, the person having antigen A on his red blood cell is of blood group A. This is the red blood cell, and on its membrane express the antigen A that having a round shape. The second one, it representing a sprinkle letter B, mean the red blood cell expressed on its membrane antigens B. That's why the person having antigen B on his red blood cell is of a blood group B. So this is the red blood cell. In its surface express the antigen B having a triangular shape. Corresponding for this type, it expressing the two corresponding antigens A and B. That's why the type of a blood group will be AB. So on the membrane of the red blood cell, we have the two antigens A and B. Antigen A with a round shape and antigen B with a triangular shape. The last one here, there is no antigens to exist on the membrane of red blood cell. That's why it is related to blood group O. So this is the red blood cell will be empty from any antigens to be expressed on its surface. Now, the scientific term of antigens that exist on the surface of the red blood cell is called agglutinogen. So agglutinogen is the scientific term of the antigens that expressed on the membrane of red blood cell. Now please open your booklet worksheets to page 28 worksheet 9 and solve questions 1, 2 and 3. Pause the video and solve these questions alone. Let us together now give the answers of these questions. Concerning the definition of agglutinogen, we say it's the marker molecules presented on the membrane of the red blood cells that determine the blood groups of an individual. We repeat again that according to the type of antigen, mean agglutinogen, exists on the surface of red blood cell, we are able to identify the blood group. Concerning blood transfusion, we state that it's the transference of blood from one person to another. Concerning the types of agglutinogen, they are only two, which they are agglutinogen A and agglutinogen B. And the HLA molecules do not exist on the membrane of red blood cell simply because red blood cells are unnucleated. And we stated before that HLA molecules exist only on the membrane of the nucleated cells. Let us together now recall the components, mean the composition of blood. Blood is made up from red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and also plasma. And we stated before that plasma consists of a great number of antibodies. Now we want to see what are the different types of antibodies that are related to blood groups. Similar to agglutinogens, antibodies related to blood groups are also of two kinds only. We have anti-A and we have anti-B. And pay attention that each antibody is characterized by a specific shape in its top where it's responsible to bind for the specific antigens. And also there is a scientific term for antibodies which is agglutinin. In order to identify the kind of agglutinin present in plasma for a specific person, it's very important to look for its agglutinogen, mean for its blood group, where agglutinogen and agglutinin must be opposite to each other. For example, blood group A expressed on its membrane, as we stated before, agglutinogen A, mean the antigen correspond to have this circular or round shape. Concerning the antibodies exist in the plasma of blood group A, it must be antibody B. Concerning now blood group B, correspond to have agglutinogen B on its surface, and that's why correspond to have antibody A. It's very important, please, to pay attention that the shape of the antibody expressed in the plasma must be not complement to the antigens expressed in our red blood cell. That's in order to prevent the binding between these antibodies and the agglutinogen, and by that we are preventing the neutralization of the red blood cell. mean in fact we are avoiding ourselves from death. We continue now to blood group AB, which express on its membrane agglutinogens A and B, and concerning the antibodies, there is no antibodies to exist in the plasma, nor anti-A, neither anti-B. Since if there is anti-A, it will bind to the agglutinogen A, and if there is anti-B, it will bind to agglutinogen B. And this will cause to have neutralization that cause for our death. The last one concerning blood group O, which there is no agglutinogen to be expressed on the surface of the red blood cell. That's why it consists of the two antibodies, anti-A and anti-B, in its plasma. So as a conclusion, we state that there are four different blood groups: blood group A, blood group B, blood group AB, and blood group O. These types of a blood group, it's related to the type of the red blood cell, where blood group A, since there is red blood cell type A, blood group B relative to the type of red blood cell B, blood group AB relative to the red blood cells AB, and the last one, blood group O, relative to the red blood cell type O. Concerning the antibodies, mean the agglutinin which are present in the plasma of each individual related to blood group. Blood group A consists of antibody B, blood group B consists of antibody A, blood group AB, there is no antibodies in their plasma. However, blood group O consists of the two antibodies, anti-A and anti-B. At the end, we state also about the agglutinogen, mean the antigens that exist on the membrane of red blood cell, which they are opposite to the agglutinin. That's why blood group A correspond to have antigen A on the surface of the red blood cells. Blood group B consists of antigen B. Blood group AB related to have two antigens A and B. And blood group O, there is no agglutinogen to exist on the surface of red blood cells. Again, please now open your booklet worksheets to page 29, worksheet 9, and solve question 9. Please pause the video and solve this question alone. Thus, in order to summarize the characteristics of each blood group concerning the agglutinogen, mean the antigens that exist on the surface of red blood cell, and the agglutinins, mean the antibodies related to blood group that are present in the plasma, we say the following. Blood group A consists of agglutinogen A, and opposite to it we have antibody B. Concerning blood group B, it represents antigens B on its surface of red blood cell and anti-A in the plasma. Blood group AB represents the two agglutinogens A and B, and that's why there is no agglutinin in the plasma. The last one concerning blood group O, there is no agglutinogen to be present on the surface of red blood cell, and that's why they're expressed the two antibodies A and B in its plasma. In the next video, we are going to explain the rejection of a blood transfusion and how this rejection is related to humoral specific immune response. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.